The next few days, stay with your sister in Missoula. Don't tell anyone you're going. Wade, what are you planning? Better you don't know. Just trust me. Wade hung up, then descended into the cellar. The hidden room was just as he'd left it. Rows of weapons and gear, each piece maintained, ready. He began his checks, hands moving with the ease of muscle memory as he field-stripped and reassembled rifles. Above him, Atlas whined. Wade froze, listening. Tires crunched gravel. Different engine sound this time. He pulled up the feed. Sheriff's Department. Deputy Mike Hayes. Young, nervous, honest, but out of his depth. Wade met him at the gate. Hayes shifted his feet, hat in hand. Mr. Thorne, heard you had visitors today. Word travels fast. Listen, about the Millers, the Hendersons. We know what happened, but we can't prove it. These people, they're connected. Evidence disappears. Witnesses change their stories. And you're here to tell me to take the deal, Wade said flatly. Hayes looked ashamed. They own half the valley already. Fighting them, it's suicide. Appreciate the warning, Deputy, but I can handle myself. Hayes drove off. Wade's phone buzzed. A message from Zane. Intercepted their comms. Full assault planned. No 24-hour delay. Wade's mouth hardened into a grim smile. Perfect. Let them come heavy. Let them think they've got the advantage. 30 years of combat had taught him that overconfident enemies bled the easiest. 3 hours until his team arrived. 3 hours to turn the farm into a fortress. By dawn, the cartel would learn they hadn't cornered a stubborn old man. They'd kicked a hornet's nest, and it would be too late to regret it. Engines echoed through the valley. On the monitors, 4 vehicles appeared from different approaches. His team. Knox's black pickup first. Cyrus's weathered Jeep close behind. Zane and Nash rolling in minutes later, dust caked from back roads. Wade met them in the barn. 20. Years fell away as the men assembled. Movements sharp, practiced, still in sync after all this time. Knox, the sniper, carried his rifle case like it was an extension of his body. Cyrus unloaded crates disguised as construction gear, enough explosives to flatten half a town. Zane's comms rig looked civilian, but Wade knew it could crack military encryption. Nash unpacked his medical kit, upgraded but familiar. He'd stitch them back together in worse places than this. Feels like old times, Knox muttered, voice rough but warm. Though usually we had Uncle Sam at our back. Government would just slow us down, Cyrus said, already eyeing the barn's beams. Solid setup, Wade. Good sight lines, escape routes. You weren't kidding about being ready. Wade spread a map across the workbench. Cartel's been methodical, buying properties, carving supply lines. Not just drugs, permanent operation. Zane connected his laptop. Intercepted chatter scrolled across the screen. They've got ex-military, mostly Mexican special forces. Competent, but arrogant. Their security's sloppy. Their mistake, Nash said, organizing his supplies. How many? Main force, 30 men, Wade pointed. 2 groups. First is muscle. Intimidation, fires, accidents. Second is trained. Combat vets with proper tactics. Knox scanned the ridges through the barn door. Kill zones all over. Natural bottlenecks. High ground. We can funnel them right where we want them. They'll hit hard, Wade warned. No more pretending to be businessmen. Heavy weapons, armor, maybe even air support. Good, Cyrus grinned, pulling blueprints for charges. Been too long since we had a real fight. Wade's tone cut through the barn like steel. This isn't about just holding them off. We end this permanently, Wade said. Not just here. We shut down their entire operation in the valley. The barn grew still. The men recognized that tone, the voice that had carried them through. Impossible missions, the one that had brought them home when the odds said otherwise. Why'd you really come? Wade asked, meeting each man's eyes. You could have stayed retired, stayed safe. Nash answered first, his med kit open beside him. Kosovo, that village we found after the militia swept through. Some things you can't walk away from. Some fights need fighting. Cartel took my cousin's farm in Texas, Cyrus said, checking detonator wires. By the time anyone could act, it was already gone. Not happening again. Not here. Knox just shrugged, but his eyes were hard. You called. That's enough. Zane looked up from his laptop. They're moving faster than we thought. Intercepted. Orders. Main force mobilizing tonight. No warning, no negotiation. They're coming to take the farm and make an example. Perfect, Wade said, smiling grimly. Let's give them an example of our own. For the next hour, they turned Wade's land into a fortress. Cyrus wired the main road with explosives powerful enough to flip an armored truck. Knox climbed into 3 separate sniper nests, each covering a different approach. Zane built a command post in Wade's basement, feeding comms and surveillance into a single hub. Remember Kandahar? Knox asked as they worked. That night raid, whole city lit up. Never saw so much firepower, Cyrus muttered. Until Wade called an audible, Nash added. Turned their defenses on themselves. Still don't know how you saw that coming. Simple, Wade replied, checking ammo crates. People get predictable when they think they've already won. Cartels the same. They're used to civilians, to easy victories. They won't be ready for this. Zane's voice broke in over the radios. Movement at the Henderson place. Thermal shows 20-plus vehicles. They're not subtle anymore. Coming in like an army, Cyrus said, setting his last trap. Good, Wade replied. That means they're scared, and scared men make mistakes. The sun dipped behind. The mountains, stretching long shadows across the valley. Wade stood with his team on the porch, watching the light fade. They were no longer young, but what they'd lost in youth had been replaced with something else. Patience, experience, the kind of steel only decades of combat could forge. Knox, Wade ordered. North Tower. Best sight lines. They won't. Expect you there. Cyrus, rig the barn for remote detonation. Make it look like a prize. Zane, stay on their comms. The second they split, we move. Nash, set up medical in the basement. But be ready to relocate if it gets hot. Each man nodded. They didn't need more words. This wasn't their first impossible mission. Maybe their last, but not their first. One more thing, Wade said, voice carrying the weight of command. We're not just defending a farm. We're defending every family in this valley, every person these bastards would prey on. We do this right, we do it clean, and we do it permanent. They dispersed into the dark. Wade checked his rifle one last time. Atlas sat at his heel, ears perked, sensing the storm ahead. In the distance, dust clouds rose, the cartel gathering its force. They thought they were raiding an old man's farm. Instead, they were walking into a trap set by some of the deadliest men alive. The radio crackled. Zane's voice was tight. First wave moving out. ETA 20 minutes. Copy that, Wade said, signaling the team. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they've got the upper hand. Then we show them what real soldiers can do. The Montana sun vanished. The valley plunged into black. But darkness had always been their ally. Wade Thorne was no farmer now. He was Phantom again, the ghost that hunted other ghosts. And the cartel was about to learn why that name still carried fear in places far darker than this valley. Moonlight silvered the Montana Valley as Wade peered through his night vision scope. 20 vehicles advanced in tight formation, disciplined, trained. Someone had drilled them well, but they'd forgotten the first rule of combat. Never fight on ground your enemy has prepared. They're splitting, Zane's voice crackled in his ear. 3 teams, main force straight up the central road, 2 flanking units swinging wide. Eyes on lead vehicle, Knox whispered from his sniper's nest, tone cold and professional. Officer types in the back. Want me to take the shot? Negative, Wade replied. Let them get comfortable. We spring it on my mark. Headlights cut through the dark, stark beams, slashing across fences and tree lines as the convoy pushed toward the farm. They rolled with confidence. No hint of stealth. Why bother? In their minds, they were hunting an old man. Contact in 2 minutes, Cyrus reported. Charges primed. These boys are about to have a bad night. Through his scope, Wade watched. The first trucks grind past his outer perimeter. Doors slammed. Soldiers spilled out in crisp formations, rifles sweeping. From an armored SUV, Felix Elias Spectro Reyes stepped forward, signaling his men with sharp gestures. Spread out, he barked in Spanish. Surround the place. No one leaves alive. They're deploying heavies, Zane warned. 50 cals on the trucks, RPGs coming in the second wave. Stick to the plan, Wade said evenly. Let them commit. The cartel pushed deeper into the kill zone, blind to the danger. 50 meters. 40. 30. Sir, one of Felix's lieutenants called. No movement in the house. Thermal's cold. Felix scowled, snatching his radio. Check. The barn! He has to be here! 3 soldiers crept forward, weapons raised. Wade tracked them through his scope, counting silently. This was it, the spark that would set the tone. Now, Wade ordered. Cyrus thumbed the detonator. The night split open as the ground erupted beneath the lead vehicles, flipping steel and fire skyward. Dirt and shrapnel rained down in a deafening roar. Before the smoke cleared, Knox fired. 2 cartel soldiers crumpled, their comrades diving for cover. What the hell? Felix shouted, hurling himself behind a wheel well. Where's it coming from? Chaos swallowed the convoy.